to Raven's Ramblings. I'm Raven. I will be your conductor on this chaos train. We're here to talk about, well, a little bit of everything with a heavy dose of witchcraft. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and just kind of thought, hey, I like to talk sometimes. I might give that a try. So here I am. We're going to hopefully start with some of the more base stuff and move up to the more complex magic over time. And I'm sure there'll be enough chaos in between to keep us all entertained. And I'm sure you hear my accent. Yeah, I'm from the South. Don't hold that against me. I'm a little blue dot in a red state, but that's neither here nor there. Well, thank you for joining me. I promise I will try my best to keep the ums and the paper rattling to a minimum as we go down this little journey together. So, just to begin, we're going to start with some of the basics that you can get from a book I've had for a while, and I haven't gone through it as much as I should have. But I do have it. It's the Complete Book of Witchcraft by Raymond Buckland. It's what some people consider to be the quote-unquote Bible of witchcraft and Wicca. Now, me personally, I don't necessarily practice Wicca. I'm more of a eclectic, solitary, chaos witchcraft practitioner. So I don't necessarily follow like the Wiccan Rede and the rule of three and those kinds of things. Now I know a lot of people do, and that works great for them, and that's amazing. Me personally, I don't mind dabbling a little bit in the gray area. When people ask, I do call myself a gray witch because, well, some people, sometimes the karmic marks are worth putting bitches in jars, and that's okay. And that's what works for me, and that I know that doesn't work for everybody, and that's totally okay. And we're not going to be dabbling on the full darker side of what a lot of the modern day can consider witchcraft. But I'm sure we will dabble more into a gray area on some things. And if that's not something you're interested in, totally understand. You can just skip that part and see what else we have happening. So just starting with some of the basics. The god and goddesses of witchcraft. Now, there are tons. I would love to say hundreds. And some people only focus on the more feminine aspects, and some people only focus on the more masculine aspects. Now, with everything, there does need to be some type of balance, but that doesn't necessarily mean full male or female god or goddesses. Personally, I think feminine and masculine aspects can be found in one entity. I know with myself, on some days I am a little bit more feminine, and on some days I am a little more masculine. So I feel like that balance is kind of had within myself. And some people don't have that, and that's okay. Some people are feminine all the time, so they find a partner that complements that with a masculine energy, and that's what works for them. Now, in Christianity, there is the male god, and that's been an issue, I think, with some women over the years. Is why is there only a male god? There's no balance with that, but that's neither here nor there. And well, a lot of people, or a lot of females especially, are moving more toward a natural religion away from those types of things because they don't feel representative. Representative? No, represented. There we go. See, I'm gonna get my life together. Y'all gonna be here and witness it. So witchcraft is a religion of nature, and everywhere in nature there are male and female aspects, and both are necessary. Now I know science is moving in different directions, and we can create embryos and such with only female DNA, but in the general rule in nature, both male and female are necessary, and there again goes into that balance. Um, so with our gods and goddesses, me personally, I focus mainly on a specific goddess, and that's Hecate or Hecate, depending on how you want to put the accent on, because, well, honestly, none of us were around when she was, so none of us really know. So both ways are correct, and don't let anybody tell you differently. You can pronounce it however is comfortable for yourself. Um, for me, Hecate does have those male and or masculine and feminine qualities, because she is very strong and very powerful, um, but also uh, a little bit more feminine than me personally. I think, she has the three faces, which the younger faces, I think I see as more feminine than the older, where the crone, the maiden, mother, and crone. The maiden is the young, youthful, happy, feminine. I feel like walking through flowers in a meadow, kind of feminine. The maiden is uh, is very useful and vibrant. And then you move into the mother aspect of it. And the mother aspect of it is just what it says. It's more of the mothering, more caring and nurturing and so forth. And then the crone, just to me, just kind of sits back and watches everything and kind of helps balance those scales out. I also think she doesn't take any shit, which a lot of times is a more masculine energy. And I kind of relate to that. So I think that works for me. And maybe it'll work for you, maybe it won't. If Hecate doesn't work for you, then you find one that does. Like I said, there are tons and tons of gods and goddesses, and they range from the Norse gods of Odin and Thor and Loki to the Greek goddesses like Hecate. And see, I say it both ways, so it's fine. Uh, then we have Welsh traditions that use the name Diana for the goddess. Personally, I talk to the Morgan, which is more Celtic. Uh, and then there's Lilith. And if Lilith isn't feminine and masculine, then I don't know what is, honestly, because she is a force to be reckoned with, for sure. And it just depends on what resonates with you. That is the beauty of witchcraft, is that it is about you and what you desire and what you need. Because truly there's not a right and wrong way to do witchcraft. As long as it resonates with you. I mean, if you're out there hurting people, that's probably not a good plan. But, maybe they needed to be put in a jar. I don't know. I don't know your life. But yeah, it's really and truly about what works for you. And a lot of, and why I say I practice witchcraft but not Wicca, is a lot of Wicca is more high magic based. And what I mean by that, it is, I don't want to say more ritualistic, but it's a more formal ritual that they do. It's usually done by a coven, where you have a high priestess that is kind of leading everyone and guiding the ritual itself and guiding the practice of the coven, which is great for some people. But some of us, like I said, little blue dot in a red state, that's not an option for me. And, well, honestly, I am not a formal person, so I just don't know if that would work well for me anyway. Not really my kind of thing. I am way more laid back and relaxed than probably most high priestess would want to deal with. And I tend to ask a lot of but why questions. And, well, that's why I didn't make it very long in the Baptist church either, because you start asking questions and they get a little tizzy about it. So, anyway, um, so with my personal magic, my personal witchcraft, I do have a space that I like to work in. I uh, cleanse it on occasion, probably not as often as I should. Once again, chaos. Light and mundane life gets busy. I work in the medical field and I work night shift, so sometimes you just do what you gotta do, and you hope for the best. Um, so some people think that you need to have a very specific area in nature, um, that you can do your ritual work, and that's not always an option. Me personally, I do have a backyard, but I also have neighbors. But I also live in the South in a red state. And I don't know about you, I don't really want to test that theory about bringing back witch trials and stuff, so I try to keep it not necessarily in the broom closet, but not as flamboyant as I would like to be sometimes. Just because, well, I have to live here. So when I do get a chance, I will go outside and do some of my ritual and so forth. But a lot of times it's just done indoors. And, well, honestly, sometimes it's just done right in my kitchen. And that's okay. Like I said, there's no right or wrong way to do what works for you. The main thing you have to remember is your intentions behind it. You figure out what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and you gather any tools that you may or need or want or have handy. Sometimes that may be all the fancy stuff like an athame, a cauldron, and a wand, and all the bells and whistles. And some days that may just be stirring a pot of macaroni on the stove with a wooden spoon. You stir it counterclockwise to banish some stuff, or you stir it clockwise to bring something in. And it's just that simple. And witchcraft can be just that simple in everyday life. It doesn't always have to be this high magic. Everyone wear their ritual cloaks and go sky clad under that, out under the full moon, and all that. It doesn't have to be that. And for some of us, it can't be that. It's those simple things that make it okay and bring that peace of mind to us. So you want to focus on those intentions no matter what you're doing. And that's really true with everything in life, but especially with witchcraft, because that is the true basis of it, is your intention, your desire, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. That's what you're wanting to put out there. If my desire was a better job, not that I don't love my job, because I love my job most days. Anyway, so if you're looking for a better job, you're gonna to get that thought in your head. Get you a piece of paper. Write down what it is you want. Fold that piece of paper up and just close your eyes and hold on to that paper and think about the things you're wanting to accomplish. Think about what kind of job you want. Where, if there's a specific company, where you want that to be. If it's a city you're wanting to move to, think about that and think about all those aspects and kind of imbibe that piece of paper with that intention and that want and that need. Now, some people say you You bury that in your yard and let it keep. Some people would say you can burn that and release that out into the world or into the universe. And some people say, hey, put that on your refrigerator, and every time you look at it, think about those things and keep putting that energy out there. And all of those things are still correct. You know, it really is truly whatever resonates with you. Me personally, when I was looking for a job, when I got out of school and stuff a few years ago, I did write down the things that I thought I wanted, and I put them in a little envelope and I buried it in my yard, and hoped and put all that energy into it, and then I got that job that I wanted, and well, it didn't go well. Not necessarily through fault of my own, but the situation was not what it should have been. So you know what I did? Found another job. I transferred departments and have been there ever since. You know, so even though that very first thing wasn't in what I thought it was going to be, it still led me to that good job, that home that I wanted to have. You know, I wanted a place that felt like a family. I wanted a job that made me feel comfortable and confident. And even though there was a skip in there, you know, we're going to forget about that a little bit in the front, but that's what led me to where I'm at today, which is, you know, where I'm happy. So, intentions, that's our biggest thing that we always want to remember. You know, we want to put out those things out into the world. If you have a spot in your home to make a simple altar, you could put something like that on there, even if it's just a little space on a bookshelf. You know, you write down that intention that you're wanting, fold it up, put your intentions and all your thoughts and your energy into that, and set it there. And every time you see it, go by and touch it. Just kind of keep on tabs with it, kind of stuff. You know, it really is whatever works for you. Some people are going to say that you need to walk around, get your compass out, find your, you know, true north, and call your corners and make your circle and all those things. And all those things are amazing. And on occasion, when my chaos calms down just a little bit and I can focus through the ADHD, I will do those things personally. That's not very often, because that's not realistic for who I am as a person. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is what it is. So, continuing on. Altars. Fairly simple. Like I said, you can have a little spot on a bookshelf if you want to. Personally, I am lucky enough that my wife and I bought a 3-bedroom house with a bonus room, so she gets to have a nice art room and I get to have what I affectionately call my cave, which is painted in dark colors and has all of my witchy things and bones and herbs and, well, all of my chaos, honestly. My altar is kind of eclectic, and yours can be whatever you need it to be. I have candles and a cauldron and different crystals and figurines and a handmade wand that my wife carved for me, and all of these things, and that's just a very, very short list of the craziness that is on my altar. Now, all of these things I have collected over the years. These are not things that I bought all at one time or even in over a year. Like, this is 20 plus years of collecting of these types of things. So it's not something you have to go out and do immediately. For me, it gives me a space that if I do slow down for a moment, I can sit and focus. And, well, I like to say meditate, but once again, ADHD and meditation is extremely hard for me, but I'm working on that. Now, in Buckland's book that I was talking about, is an amazing diagram of a very formal altar that has chalices and candles and the god and goddess figurines and all of those kinds of things. And it's very beautiful and is very fancy. That is not what my altar is. Once again, chaos. It also has some directions on how to make an altar, like to actually build one out of wood, which is fabulous. But that is not feasible for everyone. And even they say that a tree stump is ideal. If you have a tree stump in your backyard and you want to turn that into an altar, I'm going to need you to do that and then send me pictures, because I'm super jelly about that. I do not have that. I would love to have that, but that, number one, there's no trees in my backyard, so I could not do that. But that's pretty damn awesome. So, some people just have the basics of a candle or an incense. Some people go all out and have all the things like Buckland has in the picture here. And granted, I still personally like all the little cute tools and stuff, just because, well, I'm also a little bit of a raccoon and a little bit of a crow. Raven. I like to collect pretty shiny things. So anytime I see a pretty silver dish or a pretty silver gold candle holder, or just oddball stuff like that, I'm like, oh well, I need that. I think my favorite thing right now I saw on TikTok, and I'm sure you've all seen Riot Adams, I believe was his name. He had this cute little silver dish that had a little folding top on it, and I thought it was the most fabulous thing ever. So I went looking for one. I'm like, I don't even know what this stupid thing is. Well, apparently it is a caviar holder or a butter holder from, good lord, it's vintage. I don't know. So then I'm like, well, now I have to find one. So trying to find one online was impossible. So we went antiquing several times, and crazy enough, I found one in Hot Springs, Arkansas, in a little antique shop, and it was exactly what I wanted. It was so perfect. And now that sits on my altar filled with sand from one of our beach trips with a little tea light candle in it. And that's where I do most of my dedications to my deity and stuff. Just when I want to go and say hello to her and stuff, and just a little, hey, I didn't forget about you, I promise. So I will light a little candle, put it in there, put a little lavender in with it so it smells nice, and I just kind of walk away. And I know that it's a metal dish, so it's safe, and I kind of keep an eye on it, walking around the house and everything. Now, strangely enough, I do have a lot of actual candles, but I usually only burn the little tea light one. That's just me personally. Now, I do have electric candles, and I know the witchcraft community is probably going to come at me and go, oh, how dare you. That's not okay. But for me, it works, because I light my little tea light candle that I know is safe, and I hit my little on button for my 4 other candles on my altar, and I know I can walk away from it, and my cats are not going to burn the house down, because my tea light candle is in this metal dish filled with sand. It's not going anywhere. Nothing around it can fall into it and stuff if my cats get up there. And then my other ones, well, they're big and pretty, but they're electric, so they just glow and look nice, and they make me feel good every time I walk past the door and stuff. But that's for me personally. That may not be what works for you, and that is totally okay. And then again, you may be kind of like me and go, well, shit, I didn't know I could just do whatever I wanted. Well, yeah, you can. It's witchcraft. There's no major, okay, there's a few rules here and there. Let's try real hard not to, do away with people. That's a bad idea. let's not try to break any mundane laws. They tend to frown on that and stuff. But as far as your own personal practice, you do what resonates with you. Just remember that. That's the big thing. You do what works for you, and if somebody doesn't like it, they don't have to be in your circle. You ain't gotta worry about it. So, back to our altars. Yes, you can build your own altar with a slab of wood and place all the things on it with dishes for salt and water and things to represent air and all the good things. And that's amazing. And they are absolutely beautiful. That is not feasible for all of us, and that's okay. Apparently, that's going to be the theme for my show. That may not work for you, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm a little bit special. It's all right. So, moving on from altars, we're going to talk about phases of the moon. Now, I don't know about y'all, but working in healthcare, I can usually tell when the full moon's coming. Now, some people say that you can only do practicing on the full moon itself. I personally don't follow that. I follow the 3 before and 3 after kind of thing. Just because you can feel that energy kind of building, or at least I can. And maybe that's from working in healthcare. I don't know. But I've always, been able to feel when that change is coming. Now, the in-between moons, I do have a little bit of issue with. But I also have an app on my phone that will tell me what phase we're in. Because, once again, chaos. I sure can't keep up with myself, much less the moon. So, you got new moon, the waxing moon, the full moon, and the waning moon. And each of those phases are used for different things. So, for bringing something to you, the basic following is you're bringing in, you're building onto something. So that's going to be when the moon is increasing in size. That's the waxing part. So between the new moon and the full moon is the waxing. That's when the moon is getting a little bit bigger each night. And that's for bringing to you, bringing it in. I heard on one of my other podcasts, the waxing, it's like waxing it on. It's coming on, it's getting bigger, yada yada. And that's kind of stuck with me. The full moon is, that's the high energy point. Personally, I don't do a whole lot on the full moon because I just kind of enjoy where that energy has built. I just kind of roll in that and feel that for myself. And then the waning moon is when you're wanting to push something away from you because the moon is getting smaller, so you're kind of pushing it and pushing away. So during the waxing cycle, what some people would call, or even Buckland calls it, constructive magic. So stuff for love and protection, health, fertility, things like that. Destructive stuff would be in the waning moon. So binding spells, elimination, separation, those kinds of things. And once again, it's one of those personal preference kind of things. And personal preference, when I say that, it is all about what you are feeling. And we say these moon phases and what's good for them and what's used for certain phases are better than others and so forth. And sometimes that works amazing and the timing works out fabulously, and you can do all those things that you need to build on in the waxing moon. And sometimes it doesn't work that way, and it's a Tuesday in the new moon and you need to bring something to you, and sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Now, it may not be as effective, or it might. It just depends. Because once again, that magic stuff, it's in you. It's all about that intention and that energy manipulation within yourself and what you are putting out into the universe. So if you just have to do something like that, on a new moon when it should have been done on the waning moon, do it. See what happens. What's the worst that could happen? Your spell works, fabulous. Doesn't work, well, try it again next time. You know? And some of it's trial and error. And some people feel like certain moon phases work better for things, and they do it totally opposite of everybody else. Beauty of witchcraft. You do what resonates with you. So, going back to our altar and stuff, since we're still kind of in that same tool category, I guess, with our moon phases. Some of the basic tools that you'll see on altars are a knife, an athame. Now, personally, an athame to me is a double-edged knife. Doesn't necessarily need to be sharp. Okay, I have one made out of crystal that I use, and just recently got it, honestly. And I love it. It holds my energy well. It feels good, and I have started using it if I need to focus, like pinpoint focus and intention. It helps me visualize things. Now, these tools are not necessities. They are just what they are. They are tools to help you do something. Sometimes it is to pinpoint your energy. Sometimes it is to help visualization, which is the two main things that I use them for, because you don't have to have tools to do witchcraft. You just truly don't. It is all about the intention. But me personally, it helps to have that physical manifestation of what I'm trying to do. You know, if I am making a circle, a lot of times I would just use my wand before I got my athame recently. And I will walk my circle with my wand. And what that is doing is helping me to take my energy, draw it to the point of my wand, and visualize where I'm making my circle. Because I don't have a permanent circle. So I have to, walk that out each time. And that's fine. One day, maybe, we'll see. If I can get a tall enough fence so the neighbors can't see, I'll put one outside and be all official and stuff. We'll see. So, the athame, it's usually, like I said, it's a dull double-edged knife, and it's used for like cutting doorways into circles or helping to draw circles out and stuff. Some people prefer it to be steel, and some people, well, they use brass. And I mean, it is truly personal preference. If it speaks to you, use it. Now, in Buckland's book, he does write about how you can forge your own athame, which is amazing. You could forge it out of iron or steel or whatever, and it's a great instruction to do that. Now, look, I don't know about y'all, but I do not have a forge in my backyard. Well, yet. I think my wife is still thinking about doing that, so maybe one day. But I do not have that right now. And the whole ritual that he goes through with doing it is fabulous. It's absolutely amazing. But that's not that's not feasible for most people, the majority. I'm going to say a good 98% of us do not have a forge in our backyard where we can just go make our own athame. And this is one of those things where if you don't have the fires of hell, store-bought is fine. Everybody's seen that meme, right? If you do not have a forge in your backyard, store-bought athames are fine. Make sure you cleanse it. Simple cleansings, run it through running water. I do a lot of cleansing in my freezer. I get a new crystal or something in, because you never know. You have to look up, because some crystals are more porous and you don't want to put them in water because, well, they'll dissolve sometimes and it'll mess your crystal up. So I put a lot of things in my freezer for a day or two, and for me that cleanses them, and then I can use them however I need to, which is, well, actually I have a few crystals in there right now. But yeah, store-bought is fine. It's fine. It's not going to hurt anybody. It's fine. Okay. There was a spider. Had to get the spider. I didn't kill it. I just dumped it off my desk. I know that's weird, but just bear with the chaos. It's going to be all right. So, some of the other ritual tools you can use are the wand, like I talked about a while ago. That's what I've been using to draw out my circles and stuff. And my wife carved it out of this really cool little limb that she had found, and she skinned it down and carved the symbols for the elements and stuff in it, and it's very personal to me. Some people have bells. I do personally have a bell. I also have one of those little chime bowls, and the sound makes me happy. It kind of calms my mind, so I like it. With wands, look, some people are going to tell you that you have to have a very specific wood, like a rowan wood or ash or willow or whatever. Honey, just find that one that makes you happy. Some people go and get a dowel rod from Walmart, and that's okay too. You do what works for you. Now, other tools are going to be simple things like cauldrons and herbs and matches and things like that. All of those are just pretty. They're great tools. I use a lot of them. I have a lot of stuff that I've never used, but I still like to look at it because, well, I'm a crow and I like to collect pretty things. Now, in higher magic, a lot of covens especially will work in ritual robes or cloaks and stuff. Personally, I don't do that. I'm honestly usually in my pajamas, because if I am at home, I am in my pajamas. I don't care. If people are coming over, they're probably going to have to deal with me in my pajamas, because it's my house. I'm going to be comfortable, that kind of thing. Now, if you want to wear something fancy, baby, you do that. You put on that fancy robe and you go out into the moonlight and you feel that on your soul. That's amazing. 100% support that. I am not that person. I am not that organized. But do it. If that's what brings you joy, you do that. Yeah, you do what brings you joy. And honestly, that's a lot of what witchcraft is. Bring what resonates with you to your circle. If it doesn't resonate with you, you probably don't need that. It's that whole, was it Marie Callender or whatever? If it doesn't bring you joy, let it go. Just let it go. Bring what brings you that happiness into your life. Set your intentions with those things. And make magic. And that's what we have for this week. That was a good chaotic start. We'll try to do another episode hopefully next week. And thanks for going on this crazy ride with me. We'll pick up somewhere close to where we were in Bucklands and start talking about a little bit of high magic and rituals and stuff that I don't personally do anymore. I did a little bit here and there years ago, but that's just not who I am as a person. All right. Well, thanks for being here and listening to the chaos. Keep it magical.